This is the Seven Figure Standard Podcast, hosted by Arash Vossoughi and Mykie Stiller, with mindset and strategies to help you break through and create personal freedom.
Hello and welcome to the Seven Figure Standard Podcast. I'm Mykie Stiller, joined by my co-host Arash Vossoughi, and we are so happy to be here with you today for this episode. It's one that I know you're all going to love. And Arash, this episode was your idea. Whenever we were talking about what we were going to record next, you said you really wanted to talk about how to make the move before you're ready. Why do you think that so many people struggle with this concept? And what does it mean?
Well, I watch so many people plateau and stall because they're always planning to plan. And you're never going to be ready for a thing until you do it. And this is why, if you look at plateau, somebody's accepting lesser goals. They're not consciously working on building their standard, and they're always planning to plan. Planning to plan is limiting so many people right now. I always say it's never aim, fire, shoot. It's shoot, fire, aim. But we have to make a part of our philosophy. It is so important, everybody understands this, that we make the move before we're ready. First, you act, you do that first step, then you get the details of the strategy. The strategy continues to unfold. Like I could look at our strategy. It's constantly evolving. Every action brings the next level of our strategy into our awareness. And a quantum leap is already something that everybody is prepared to do. But what stops the quantum leap in their tracks, there is no quantum leap. There is no possibility of achieving a big goal if you don't make the move before you're ready.
Could you share a personal story of when you took a significant step and made a big move without feeling fully ready?
Yeah, I have so many in my mind because I've been doing that for 17 years. But the first time I did it, I remember we were just getting started being entrepreneurs, my wife and I. And she was in grad school and she was pregnant. And I had just started for literally 2 weeks starting to earn a much better level of income, but it wasn't guaranteed. And she was exhausted. I told her, just quit. And she said, what do you mean? I said, just quit. Quit your job. And we made the move before we were ready. Like if you would have looked at our bank accounts, we made the move before we were ready. I look at when we started Voss Coaching Co. I turned down a multiple seven-figure guaranteed income to go start from zero because I had outgrown the environment. I made the move before I was ready. So every time I speak, I make the move before I'm ready because I don't just want to speak. I want to impact people on the greatest level. And so when we start understanding the importance of making the move before we're ready, that disrupts comfort. It disrupts comfort in me every time. But when you activate your I don't give an F muscle, which is essential, and you start building so much confidence every time you do it. Like I could look at the first time I did it compared to now. The first time was the hardest time. Then it got easier and easier and easier because you automatically will anchor this as part of your character and part of your identity. But nothing happens until we make the move. Emerson, I study Emerson closely. And Emerson says, do the thing will give you power. He doesn't say plan the thing. He doesn't say just study and gather more information, but that's what people are doing. And what they're doing is allowing their old program that is outdated to dictate what they can do. And they're constantly lying to themselves. So once we get out of that, everything starts unfolding in such a wonderful way for us.
The way you share those stories is so inspiring, and you brought up confidence there. So I want to ask you, how do you think that a person's confidence or mindset influences their ability to act and make moves and make decisions before they're ready? And are there certain mindset shifts that are required to do this effectively?
Well, nothing happens until you decide you're going to do a thing. So if somebody's planning right now, and I know there's a lot of people right now that are listening to this are great planners of planners. They're constantly planning to plan. And you have to make a decision before a decision starts the whole process with everything we do. So you've got to make an all-in committed decision. This is what I'm doing. Then what happens when you make the move before you're ready, you radically accept the idea that it is done, that it is going to work out in my favor. So when we're looking at this, Mike, we've got to look at how much philosophy plays a role in this. Philosophy, and we've done podcast episode on this, but it is our automatic operating system. But my philosophy is about selecting a powerful goal and a powerful vehicle that's going to take it to the finish line. So you've got to understand both and knowing what matters and what doesn't matter. When we're planning to plan, that doesn't matter. Until you do a thing, nothing happens. And knowing what you won't do. I am not going back. I am not going back. I'm going to keep pivoting forward. Our past is dead, yet people are living from their past, and they're constantly wanting to change their results coming from their past self. It is never going to happen. But we want to start continually really questioning our assumptions. What's an assumption? It's a fact. Like you and I, and everyone listening to this, is very biased towards their life. They're very biased towards their goals. And once we start questioning our assumptions, what are some assumptions we can question? How long is it going to take? Will it work? How much money is it going to cost? What are the relationships? And what are the skill sets that I have to do? Is it going to be hard? So once we start questioning those and bulletproofing them in our favor, so anytime I set a big goal, I never think hard or easy. That's part of my philosophy. So it's easy for me to make the move before I'm ready because I think everything's going to be, I make it in the most simplistic form. And what is the most simplistic form? That all I have to do is act. Every action is going to lead to the next action. And so when you simplify it, instead of saying it's hard, it's not hard. It's different. All of you have done hard things. You may have thought it was hard. Now it's easy. So I always use the example of driving a car. When I was first learning to drive a car, my hands were really holding the wheel tight. Then as I kept getting better at it with repetition, now sometimes you're like 2 fingers. I don't know how I got home, right? You create automaticity. We want to make automaticity in our philosophy about making the move before we're ready. So many dreams are being killed right now because people are too driven by their analytical mind. And we cannot do that. Our emotional state is always dictated by how we think. We want to think at the highest level.
So good. You know, you've worked with thousands of individuals at this point and coached thousands of individuals. And in that work, you get an inside look at what's going on in their mind and what's going on in their decision-making or holding them back. And you get a look that a lot of people don't see. So what are some of the common fears or excuses that you see people making whenever they're hesitating to make a move or planning to plan or procrastinating or putting things off that could get them that next big breakthrough?
The number one is, what if this doesn't work? Always. What if this doesn't work? And my question is pretty obvious. What if it does? Are we going to look at what if up or what if down? Most people are looking at what if down. We did a episode on expectation recently. Oh, well, our expectation is so crucial because it controls what we do and how we behave. But no one's going to know until they do it, though. That's the bottom line. Yet people are wanting to create a massive 10x jump, a massive quantum leap in their present behaviors. It's never going to happen. So we have to understand, what can we do to be more bold? Like, what have you done in the last 2 weeks that you operated with boldness? Because being bold is what creates abundance. Abundance demands us to be bold. It does not demand us to play scared. It does not demand us to overplan. But what happens is when you make the move before you're ready, you're not just uncovering the strategies, you're uncovering the mindsets, you're uncovering the skill sets, you're uncovering where it demands you to leverage better. So when we do that, everything changes. Getting ready for a thing is the biggest stalling activity. And you're not going to create anything of any significance coming from that energy.
Arash, similar question. In your work, what is separating those people that you're working with, or the individuals who are willing to take risks before they're ready, from those who are not willing? Is it just asking yourself a different question? Is it having a higher threshold for risk and risk aversion, or what would it be?
It's somebody that really has a want, that they really want something more than anything else in the world. A lot of people think they have one. They don't. All they have to do is observe their actions, observe their daily processes. That will always tell us how bad we want it. The person who is risk adverse is risking more than anybody in this world. We are risking every day when we get up and get out on the streets, when you get in the car. But we don't look at it as a risk. It is a risk. But when we are planning to plan, we are risking more than people could even imagine.
Yeah. We talk a lot about discipline. What role does discipline play in making moves before you're ready consistently?
Well, discipline is a prequel to creating any type of result. So discipline always plays. That's why every day we want to look at it as day one, not one day I'm going to do this. Every day is day one, and you recommit. And you recommit that you're achieving that goal. You recommit that you're operating with courage. That's discipline. You recommit and practice accepting and rejecting ideas. Mm-hmm. So you're going to know if you're not making the move, you haven't accepted the idea. All you are is distracted by your old story. That's all that's going on. So I always am asking myself great questions. The minute I started observing myself, my life changed. But what I really was doing was observing my assumptions, observing what I really thought to be true. Trust me, I used to be the biggest procrastinator. I used to be the person who was always planning to plan. But I also was losing big then. Mm-hmm. And when I changed it, I'm telling everybody how crucial this is, because until you do it, nothing's going to change. And this all comes back to, once again, your philosophy. But what's under the hood of your philosophy is how you think. How are you thinking about a thing? The more we raise our thinking, the more we raise our goal, our thinking automatically changes. But we have to get emotionally involved with what we want. Until we're emotionally involved with what we want, we're never going to make that move.
Arash, you're going to appreciate this question because you love sports so much. So we're gearing up for basketball season. My kids both play basketball, and I'm outside playing with my son. And I was brought back to high school. My high school basketball coach taught us to have a process, right? You get up to the free throw line, you dribble twice, or whatever it is that you do. I dribble twice and then shoot the free throw. And it kind of helps ground you and not get as anxious or worried or choke. Basically, it helps you not choke. And you have that your automatic system just takes over. You know what to do. Well, even years later, I haven't played basketball in 17 years. Still, I got up there, 2 dribbles, swoosh. You talk a lot about processes, right? Daily processes. Do those daily processes ground you in the same way when making big decisions and taking risks and making moves before you're ready as they do in sports? Like, does that metaphor translate?
Yeah, I mean, that's a process that you just explained. And it's a process to quiet your mind and to ground yourself. So the processes are only going to work if you're emotionally involved in the processes. Like if you're just doing a process and checking the box, it has no power. Mm-hmm. So you believed in that process of dribbling twice and then taking the shot. So now if you made the shot or not, you're going to make some, you're going to miss some. Mm-hmm. And I saw this stat about Roger Federer, one of the best tennis players ever to play. And they did this documentary on him, and he has won well over 20 major championships. And they said he's lost 50% of the points that he's ever played. Now think about that. The best in the world has lost 50% of his points. That's just the way it works.
Yeah.
Losing is part of winning. But if we don't have an understanding of it, we're never going to make the move before we're ready. That's the challenge for people. They're afraid to lose. You can't be afraid to lose. Until you're willing to lose, you're never going to win. And until you're ready to make the move, I don't care how many episodes of this you listen to, until you do the thing, nothing moves. When you get into action, the whole universe conspires on your behalf. And I'm not talking about blind action. I'm not talking about just doing a thing. I'm talking about doing a thing that your goal demands. What are those three most important actions you could take today? And those are the actions. You just do it. Watch what will start transforming in terms of all of a sudden you get so clear of what the next step is and the next step and the next step. It'll change. It just changes the game. I think about this story while I'm talking right now. So a couple of years ago, we went with some friends to, I don't know what it's called, a staycation a couple hours away. And they said, we're going on a hike. So we're going on this hike. Then I get there and I have to sign these release forms that says, if you get injured, if you die, we're not responsible. I said, what kind of hike are we going on? Well, I didn't realize we were climbing up the mountain. And I've never climbed up a mountain being hooked into cords. But it was so wonderful because it taught me so much about what we teach, because you just take the next step and the next step and the next step. And, success is no different than climbing a mountain, but most people are not taking the first step, which will never allow them to take the next step. Yet they say, I know this. No, you don't know it. Because if we're not doing a thing, we do not have the understanding. But when we do the thing, we create the understanding because it creates a visceral experience. You learn so much more from the doing than just gathering information.
That's so true. I mean, how often have we all been watching a sport or watching someone else do something and think, oh, I could do that better. And then when you go to do it, you realize it's not as easy as it looks. And doing is where all the change happens. When you're working with a client, whether it's in a group or one-on-one, and you recognize and you see that they're having trouble taking action, they're having trouble taking a risk, they're playing it too safe, what is a strategy that you might give them?
Well, first of all, I have to let them know why. They're not letting go. They've never radically accepted the idea, and they don't have enough reason to do a thing. And what happens is you don't want to have, anybody who works with me knows I'm not a yes person. I don't have yes people in my circle. I want people that challenge me. And so I tell them that. And I said, I'm not here to adhere to your comfort zone. I'm here to help you, but we have got to start making some significant moves. And it starts with one move. Then it's the next move. You don't have to be great to get started, but you have to start to be great. Zig Ziglar said that. And there's nothing more accurate than that. But if we're constantly operating from our old story, our old paradigm, what we're doing is we're living in delusion. We are absolutely living in delusion. We have to consistently reinvent ourselves. And I'm talking about on a daily basis, and it happens with the small things. That first move does not have to be a big move. It just has to be a move.
Arash, let's get into the action step for this week. So for our listeners, what is a small or big action step that they can take right now to feel confident in making a move before they feel 100% prepared?
Immediately today, in the next hour, I want you to make a move, make a phone call, take an action that is so far out of your comfort zone that your goal demands. Do it right away. Don't say I'm going to do it in 3 hours. Do it right away. Once you do it, you're going to have so much respect for yourself, but you're going to start seeing your world unfold in such a wonderful way. Do it now. Do the thing right away. Make the move before you're ready. And stop planning a plan. Wipe that out of your consciousness. If you have an idea, act on it. Act on it right away. And that's my suggestion.
I love it. Arash, thank you so much. This was a wonderful episode, and thanks to all of you. If you enjoyed today's episode, go ahead and leave us a rating and review. Share this with your friends and family members. We would love to have them as listeners of the Seven Figure Standard podcast as well. And we'll see you next week for another episode. Thanks, Arash.
Thanks, Mykie.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Seven Figure Standard. We hope you found the insights and strategies helpful on your journey to success. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave us a rating and review on your favorite podcast platform to help us reach more people like you. To learn more about Arash and Mykie and how Voss Coach & Co. can help you achieve your goals and reach new levels of success, visit vosscoachandco.com. Thank you again for listening, and we'll see you on the next episode of Seven Figure Standard.